Now, to the UK, where soaring inflation here is contributing to the biggest drop in living standards since the 1950s. Struggling consumers are cutting back on luxuries, but there are some winners on the high street, certainly. Retail sales actually rose in February, driven by spending in discount stores and second-hand shops. We'll get the figures for March in about an hour or so. So, will the trend continue? That is the big question. Well, let's bring in Kate Hardcastle, who is a retail consultant. Kate, how confident are British consumers feeling, really?
I think what's happening is a very interesting mix of micro trends that are going on that sometimes can warp the picture. So when we heard last month that actually supermarket sales were quite resilient, it was because we've seen actually people are buying in at home, preparing the food rather than going out. And that's really impacted the hospitality industry. When we look at services like hairdressing, dry cleaners, etc., they're all struggling because consumers have actually stopped using a lot of those services. They're trying to do treatments, hair and beauty treatments at home, or just forgoing things like dry cleaning. So what we've got are these very interesting smaller trends coming through to present just how concerned consumers are. It's not been a case that they've curtailed everything. It's the fact that they're modifying, changing, and also leaning into new trends that are coming through to take best advantage and make the most of their budgets.
Yeah, you're right to bring that up. So more money might be spent in supermarkets, but it's not in takeouts, it's not in restaurants, for example. More business being done at auction houses, more money being spent in charity shops. Do you expect this sort of cost of living impact, I suppose we could call it, to be structural and long term?
Yes, I think it's going to be a case that consumers understand that they have buying power, that they've got much more in terms of tools at their fingertips to be able to navigate, finding ways to do something. You mentioned the growing re-commerce trend, this idea that we're buying into what used to be classed as a second-hand market, and that has been huge in terms of the fashion resale because we've seen so many of the platforms that do that see greater success. But some of that is also born out of consumers desiring to try and find better ways to do things, more sustainable ways to do things. So I think we've seen trends like simplicity coming through where consumers are just wanting ease of purchases, definitely hyper local where they're supporting small and independent where they can, and definitely it's about speed of transaction. So they're still as demanding as ever. They still really want that value for money, but they're watchful when it comes to budget. And that's why when we see things like Mother's Day or we'll have the coronation coming up soon, these event times, these seasonal trends that come in, there'll still be a strong reaction to that. Consumers won't move away from that, but you'll see more presenting from the re-commerce marketplace, sustainable marketplaces, and indeed those value discount retailers that have had such success. It's the middle market that's been squeezed. That's where we've seen the loss of the brands again.
Kate Hardcastle, thank you.